She didn't know what New Year's was then. The midnight countdown changed. Everything Lyra had never seen a sky quite like this. On her small colony world, the twin suns hung lazily above the horizon, their light casting long shadows across the rocky plains. She liked to sit on the edge of the plateau near her home and watch the sun paint the land in gold and copper. The air was thin, cold, and dry, carrying a faint metallic scent from the distant mining stations. Yet it felt alive. To Lyra, this strange world was home. Though it lacked the warmth of stories she had only heard in whispers, she had grown up in isolation. Part of a human colony that had settled on this planet several generations ago, the adults kept to routines, maintaining life support systems, tending hydroponic farms, and repairing mining drones. Everything was measured, scheduled, practical. There was no room for frivolity, no room for dreams. Lyra, however, had always felt differently. She had a restless curiosity that could not be tamed. Today, like most days, she wandered through the corridors of the colony's central hub. The hum of machinery was constant, a background rhythm of life. She paused at the communal library, a small room filled with digital archives of old Earth stories and lessons from the first settlers. It was her favorite place, even though the elders said she wasted too much time there. Lyra called one of the instructors. "Focus on your tasks. We have enough malfunctions to deal with without you staring at screens." "Yes, sir," she replied politely, though her eyes stayed glued to the archive. Among the thousands of records, she found something new today. A series of videos labeled Earth Traditions. She pressed play, and images of sparkling lights, laughter, and celebrations filled the small display. People hugged each other, counting down as colorful sparks filled the sky. They cheered as the countdown reached 0. Lyra's eyes widened. The humans on the screen seemed alive in a way she had never experienced. "What is this?" she whispered to herself. She replayed the clip, mesmerized. This is called New Year's," she read from the title. The concept was foreign, yet intoxicating. On her planet, the days passed in a mechanical rhythm. People worked, ate, slept, and worked again. There was no mark of passing time beyond the sun's movements and the colony's strict schedules. But here was a human tradition where joy, hope, and togetherness were celebrated. Lyra spent hours watching. She noticed how the people smiled at each other, how their hands reached out in connection. She noticed the way their voices rose together, creating a rhythm that felt almost alive. She could feel it in her chest, a longing she did not fully understand. She wanted to see it, to be part of it. Her curiosity quickly became an obsession. She wandered the colony asking questions, but most adults dismissed her interest. "Why waste time on ancient customs?" they said. "We have enough work to do." Lyra, however, could not shake the idea. She imagined lights in the sky, the sound of countdowns, and the joy on human faces. She began to dream of recreating it herself. In the weeks that followed, she searched every corner of the colony for materials. She collected old holographic projectors, light arrays, and drone parts. She examined the colony's power grid, learning how to make it hum in harmony with her devices. She experimented quietly, building small displays that flickered and danced. Though they were nothing compared to the videos from Earth, one evening, she sat outside with her little creations, watching the twin suns set. Her drones buzzed around her, projecting tiny bursts of colored light into the sky. The effect was simple, yet it brought her joy. She felt connected to something larger than the colony, something human, something alive. But Lyra's fascination went beyond lights and drones. She began studying time itself. The colony measured days and nights strictly, but the concept of marking a new year seemed almost magical. She wanted to feel that shift, to mark time not by work or survival, but by hope and renewal. She imagined standing with others, counting down, feeling the collective energy of joy, and then watching a new chapter begin. Her obsession did not go unnoticed. A few of her peers, curious and bored with routine, began to join her. They whispered among themselves, excited by the strange new project. Lyra welcomed them, teaching them how to control the drones, program lights, and synchronize small displays. For the first time, She felt a sense of camaraderie that had nothing to do with chores or survival. Yet the adults remained skeptical. One evening, Elder Kale approached her workshop. His hair was streaked with gray, his face lined with years of stress and responsibility. "You're wasting your energy," he said gruffly. "This colony cannot afford distractions. What good will your lights and games do?" Lyra looked up at him, her eyes shining. "It's not just games," she said. It's what it means to be human. It's about hope, connection, joy. We work so hard every day, but don't we deserve to celebrate something?" Elder Kale paused, studying her. He had seen the fire in her eyes before, a stubborn curiosity that refused to be extinguished. Perhaps he muttered finally, "But humans are not made for frivolity on a lonely world. We survive. That is enough. Survive." "Yes," Lyra whispered, more to herself than to him. "But there is more to being human than survival." That night, she returned to her plateau. She watched the stars appear over the horizon, their cold light scattered across the plains. She imagined Earth, far away, a blue and green jewel spinning in darkness, filled with people who sang, danced, and counted down together. She imagined herself standing with others, lifting her voice in harmony. Her heart ached with longing, yet glowed with determination as she looked up. The colony's sensors detected something unusual. A faint signal pulsed from a distant sector of space, steady and rhythmic. It had gone unnoticed for months, but tonight it seemed different. Lyra felt a shiver of excitement. She did not know exactly what it was, but a strange intuition told her it mattered. Over the next few days, she studied the signal, discovering that it followed a regular pattern, almost like a heartbeat. She brought it to her peers, explaining that it could be a sign, a connection to something beyond the colony. They listened with wide eyes, excitement and fear mixing in equal measure. This could be our chance," she said. Maybe it's a way for us to celebrate, even if we are so far from Earth." The group agreed to help her. They began preparations in secret, building displays, synchronizing drones, and creating a countdown timer that could simulate the experience she had seen in the videos. They practiced together, learning to trust each other's skills, sharing laughter and mistakes. Lyra felt the energy of a true community, something she had never known in the rigid routines of the colony. The days passed quickly. Every evening, Lyra and her friends worked under the dim lights of the colony, their hands busy, their hearts full. The signal continued to pulse in the background, mysterious and persistent. Sometimes it seemed to react to their activity, glowing faintly in their instruments as if acknowledging their efforts. Lyra wondered if it was some cosmic coincidence or something more. She imagined the moment when the countdown would begin. She imagined the lights, the sounds, the collective cheer. She imagined the joy that would ripple through the colony, connecting each human to one another, and perhaps to all of humanity across the stars. Her heart raced with anticipation, and a small smile crept across her face. For the first time, she felt truly alive. Not just a survivor on a distant world, but a human with dreams, with hope, with courage to reach for something extraordinary. And in that moment, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon and the first stars shimmered into view, Lyra made a silent vow. She would see this through. She would bring the spirit of New Year's to her colony, even if she had to do it alone. She would remind everyone, herself included, that humans were meant to create, to imagine, to connect, to celebrate. The night was quiet, yet alive. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the signal pulsed once more, steady and strong, like a heartbeat calling out across the void. Lyra watched the stars, her eyes shining with determination. She could feel the adventure beginning, the unknown stretching before her, and she knew, deep in her heart, that everything was about to change. For the first time, Lyra understood that curiosity, hope, and imagination were powerful forces. They could bridge distances, awaken the spirit of humanity, and transform even the loneliest corner of the galaxy. She was ready, and whatever lay ahead, she would meet it with open eyes and an unyielding heart. The countdown of her life had begun, though she did not yet know it tan soon. The universe would respond in ways she could never have imagined. Days passed, and Lyra's excitement only grew. Each morning, she woke earlier than anyone else, eager to check the equipment, adjust the drones, refine the holographic projections. Her small group of friends, Darren, Milla, and Joran, followed her lead. They laughed, argued, and experimented together, discovering new ways to make light shimmer and move. Every flicker of color, every buzz of a drone, made their hearts beat faster with anticipation. The colony's adults, busy with essential maintenance, had mostly ignored them. Elder Kale had stopped by occasionally, his expression a mixture of doubt and mild curiosity, but he left without comment. Lyra didn't mind. She had found allies in the young ones, and together they felt unstoppable. One evening, as the twin suns dipped low in the sky and the horizon blazed with shades of gold and orange, Lyra noticed something unusual. The faint signal from the distant system had changed. It pulsed more rhythmically, almost as if responding to their experiments. Lyra's eyes widened. "Do you see that?" she asked her friends, pointing at the readings on the holographic display. The signal's pattern shifted as her drones passed through the light field. Tiny ripples of energy danced across the monitors, shimmering in colors that seemed impossible for space itself. Taya frowned. "It's just interference, right?" "Sensors sometimes do this," Lyra said firmly. "This feels different. Look at its air reacting to us." She reached out and tapped the controls, sending one of the drones in a spiral pattern through the signals field. The display flickered, then pulsed brighter for a moment, almost like it had noticed. Mila's eyes were wide. "It's alive," she whispered, though she knew it probably wasn't literal. But even she felt it, a strange sense of awareness, as if the universe were watching them, acknowledging their small efforts. Joran shook his head, half in disbelief, half in excitement. "Whether it's alive or not, it's amazing. Imagine if this is a signal from some old human archive, like a message waiting for us to discover it." Lyra nodded. She had wondered the same thing. Perhaps this was some artifact from humanity's distant past. A remnant of Earth's culture floating silently through space, waiting for humans brave enough to connect with it. And she had no doubt that their New Year's project was the key to unlocking it. Over the next week, the group worked tirelessly. The colony's daily routines continued around them, but for Lyra and her friends, time had a new rhythm, the rhythm of lights, drones, and countdowns. They built larger holograms to simulate fireworks, coded patterns of color that danced across the night sky, and synchronized drones to fly in precise formations. Each success brought cheers and laughter. Each failure taught patience. Lyra found herself thinking more and more about the human connection that the videos had shown her. The celebrations she had seen were not just lights and noise. They were a bond between people, a shared heartbeat. She wanted the colony to feel that same connection. She wanted them to understand that humans were more than workers, more than survivors. Humans were dreamers, creators, and celebrators. One evening, while adjusting the timing of the countdown device, Lyra had an idea. "We should try to make the signal respond to the countdown itself," she said. "If we synchronize everything perfectly, maybe it will." "React." Taryn looked skeptical. "React how?" "I don't know," Lyra admitted, "but I feel it in my chest, like it's waiting for something. Maybe it's waiting for humans to celebrate together." Mila frowned. "You really think space wants to celebrate with us?" "Not space," Lyra said softly. "Humans. Something left behind, something waiting for us to prove that we still remember what it means to be human." Joran clapped her on the shoulder. "Then let's do it. Let's give it the celebration it's waiting for." With renewed energy, the team refined every detail. They programmed drones to create trails of light that looked like fireworks, adjusted holograms to simulate sparks and explosions, and even designed a countdown display that everyone in the colony could see. They rehearsed in shifts, taking turns controlling drones, adjusting lights, and synchronizing their actions with the signal's rhythm as the day of the countdown approached. Excitement spread quietly through the colony. Word had leaked beyond their small group, and some of the younger settlers had begun asking questions. Lyra answered with enthusiasm, explaining the concept of New Year's in simple terms. She described the joy, the hope, and the connection humans felt when they celebrated together. Many adults dismissed it at first, but the curiosity in the children was infectious. Soon, even a few of the elders began to watch discreetly. Intrigued by the dedication of the young humans, the night before the planned celebration, Lyra could hardly sleep. She sat on the plateau, looking up at the stars, feeling the faint pulse of the signal through the colony's instruments. The air was cold, but her heart burned with anticipation. She imagined the lights dancing across the sky, the countdown echoing through the corridors, and the joy on everyone's faces. She felt a thrill she had never known, a sense of purpose that went beyond her own life. Taryn joined her, carrying a small box of tools. "You think this will actually work?" he asked, sitting down beside her. Lyra shrugged. "I don't know, but I feel like it has to. I've never felt anything like this before. This is more than a project. It's a connection to something bigger than us." Mila arrived shortly after, carrying more equipment. "I've been watching the signal," she said. "It's stronger tonight, like it knows we're preparing." Joran appeared last, leaning on his staff, his eyes wide. "Whatever happens, it's going to be amazing. Even if the lights fail or the drones crash, we've already done something incredible." They sat together in silence for a moment, listening to the wind whip across the plateau, the faint hum of the colony in the distance, and the steady pulse of the signal. For the first time, they felt a sense of anticipation that had nothing to do with survival, nothing to do with work. It was pure excitement, pure hope, pure humanity. The next morning, they made final adjustments. The drones moved in perfect formation. The holographic fireworks were programmed to their final patterns, and the countdown display was ready. Lyra checked everything twice, her hands steady, despite the adrenaline in her veins. She could see the faint glow of the signal on the monitors, pulsing gently as if encouraging her as evening fell. The colony's inhabitants began to notice. Children pressed their noses against the glass walls, watching the preparations. A few skeptical adults peeked in, curious despite themselves. Elder Kale arrived last, his expression unreadable, though a flicker of interest shone in his eyes. "Are you certain this is safe?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "Yes, sir. We've tested everything. I promise." He studied her for a long moment, then turned away, leaving her alone with her friends. They shared a quiet smile, knowing that the moment they had worked for was almost here. As night deepened, the twin suns vanished below the horizon, leaving only the faint glow of distant stars. The signal pulsed steadily, a heartbeat waiting for the right moment. Lyra and her friends took their positions, each one at a control station, fingers poised over consoles. "Everything ready?" Lyra whispered. "Ready?" Taryn said. "Ready?" Mila confirmed. "Ready?" Joran added, his voice trembling slightly with excitement. Lyra took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the signals monitor. "Then let's begin." The first lights burst into the sky, small sparks of color that danced and twirled. The drones followed, painting trails of gold, red, and blue across the darkness. The holographic fireworks flickered in perfect synchronization, creating the illusion of a sky alive with celebration. A few of the colony's inhabitants gasped, stepping closer to the viewing windows. Children laughed and clapped, caught in the wonder of the lights. Even some of the skeptical adults paused, drawn by the beauty and energy of the display. Lyra watched, heart pounding. The signal pulsed faster, brighter, as if reacting to their celebration. She felt a thrill, a connection that she could not explain. It was as if the universe itself were acknowledging them, rewarding their curiosity and courage. The countdown display began its final sequence. 10, 9, 8. The colony held its collective breath, even those who did not fully understand. Lyra's voice joined in, steady and clear, as she led her friends and anyone nearby in the count. 3, 2, 1. At that moment, the signal blazed. Light and energy flowed across the colony, enveloping drones, holograms, and onlookers alike. The effect was breathtaking. The sky seemed to shimmer and ripple, colors shifting in patterns more beautiful than anything Lyra had imagined. She could feel it in her chest, a warmth and joy that spread through her body. For a moment, all fear and doubt vanished. The colony was united, their voices and hearts synchronized in celebration. And somewhere in the distant reaches of space, the signal seemed to smile, responding to the courage and hope of humans on a small, lonely world. Lyra smiled through tears, realizing that this was more than a celebration. It was proof that humans were alive, that they could dream, create, and connect, even across the vast emptiness of space. It was a moment of pure humanity, a heartbeat shared between past and present, Earth and colony, human and universe. As the first wave of light faded, the colony erupted in applause. Children hugged each other, adults smiled in wonder, and Lyra felt a deep sense of satisfaction. She had done it. She had brought New Year's to her world. The morning after the celebration, the colony felt different. There was a quiet hum of excitement in the air, a subtle energy that had not existed before. Children whispered to one another about the lights in the sky and the strange patterns that had danced across the horizon. Adults went about their work with a little more curiosity, stealing glances at the displays and the drones, as if remembering something they had forgotten long ago. Lyra woke early, her mind racing. The celebration had been incredible, but she could not shake the feeling that the signal was not done with them. Her instruments still detected its pulse, now stronger, almost insistent. It was as though it had been awakened by their celebration and was now waiting for something more. She hurried to the central hub, where Taryn, Mila, and Joran were already examining the readings. Their faces mirrored her excitement and apprehension. "Look at this," Lyra said, pointing to the monitor. The signal's waveform was no longer random. Sharp peaks rose and fell in a regular, deliberate rhythm. It was almost like a language, a code waiting to be understood. Taryn frowned. "You really think it's trying to communicate with us?" "I don't know," Lyra admitted, "but it's responding to human activity. Maybe it's not just a signal, it's a message. Maybe it wants us to continue the celebration." Mila leaned closer, her eyes wide. "Do you think it knows we're here?" Lyra nodded. "In some way, yes. It feels aware. I've never felt anything like this before. I think it wants humans to prove that we can connect, that we can celebrate together, even when we're alone in the galaxy." Joran shook his head, a smile spreading across his face. "Well, if that's the case, we have work to do. Let's give it another celebration bigger than the first." For the next few days, Lyra and her friends worked tirelessly. They expanded their drone fleet, improved the holographic fireworks, and designed more elaborate light patterns. Every moment of free time was spent testing, adjusting, and synchronizing their devices. The pulse of the signal seemed to guide them, almost like it was suggesting new patterns or movements. Sometimes when a drone hovered in the perfect position, the signal flared brighter, as if approving. The colony began to notice their efforts. Children would stop and watch, asking questions and offering help. A few adults lingered, skeptical but curious. Even Elder Kale returned several times, observing quietly from a distance. Lyra did not mind. She had learned to focus on her work and on the small group of friends who shared her vision. Together, they felt unstoppable. One evening, as they prepared for a test run of the new display, the signal changed suddenly. A series of rapid pulses shot through their instruments, accompanied by a faint vibration that resonated through the ground. The drones quivered in the air, and the holographic fireworks flickered unexpectedly. "What was that?" Taryn asked, his voice tense. Lyra stared at the monitors, her heart racing. "It's reacting. Faster now. Maybe it's trying to tell us something. Maybe we need to synchronize everything perfectly like we did during the countdown." Mila nodded slowly. "Do you think it wants a bigger countdown? More people? More lights? More energy?" "I think so," Lyra said, her voice firm. "We have to show it what humans are capable of when we work together. We have to prove that we can celebrate with courage, joy, and unity." The group worked late into the night, testing every possible configuration. They discovered that certain patterns of light and sound seemed to trigger stronger responses from the signal. A spinning spiral of drones, combined with synchronized holographic bursts, caused the waveform to flare with intensity. Lyra realized that the signal was not random, it was learning, adapting, reacting to their creativity. "This is incredible," Joran said, eyes wide. "It's like the signal itself is alive, or at least aware of us." Lyra smiled, feeling a thrill she could not describe. "It's more than that. It's a reminder that humans can create wonder, even in the middle of nowhere. We're capable of connecting with the universe in ways no one thought possible." The next day, Lyra proposed a bold idea. "We should invite the entire colony," she said, "not just our small group. Everyone should participate. If the signal is responding to human connection, then the more people, the stronger the response." Taryn hesitated. "Do you really think the adults will agree?" "They might not have a choice," Lyra said with a grin. "We'll show them what it means to be human." They began preparations in earnest. Children carried equipment, helped program drones, and tested holograms. Some adults offered reluctant assistance, curious about the excitement spreading through the colony. Even Elder Kale observed silently, occasionally nodding as he watched the energy and coordination of the young humans. As night fell on the day of the planned celebration, the colony gathered outside. Lyra took her place at the control station, flanked by Taryn, Milla, and Joran. She felt the weight of anticipation pressing on her chest, but also a sense of pride and determination. This was their moment, and they would make it extraordinary. The first lights burst into the sky, more brilliant than ever before. Drones weaved intricate patterns, holographic fireworks danced and shimmered, and the countdown display projected numbers across the horizon. The colony held its collective breath, children pressing against windows, adults watching quietly, and Elder Kale standing in the back, his expression unreadable. 10, 9, 8. The group counted together, their voices strong and confident. 7, 6, 5. Each number seemed to make the signal pulse brighter, more insistent. Lyra's heart raced as the energy from the distant system surged, almost like it was participating in their countdown. 4, 2, 1. A wave of light exploded across the colony. The signal reacted instantly, sending ripples of color and energy through the drones and holograms. The sky shimmered, twisted, and danced in ways that no human technology could have created alone. Lyra felt it in her chest, a warmth and joy that spread through her body. The entire colony seemed to vibrate with life, connected in a way that transcended words. Children laughed and clapped. Adults gasped and smiled, and Elder Kale's eyes glistened with emotion. For a moment, everyone forgot their routines, their worries, their fears. They were united by something greater than themselves, a shared heartbeat, a shared wonder, a shared humanity. Lyra watched in awe as the signal's waveform rippled across her monitors, responding to the human energy in real time. It was no longer just a mysterious pulse in space, it was alive, aware, and interacting with them. Every drone movement, every holographic burst, every cheer from the colony seemed to strengthen the connection. "This is unbelievable," Taryn whispered, barely audible over the cheers. Lyra smiled, tears streaming down her face. "This is what it means to be human. To create, to connect, to celebrate. We did this together." As the lights faded and the drones landed, the colony erupted in applause. Lyra looked around, seeing faces illuminated with wonder, hope, and joy. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment, knowing that they had not only celebrated, but had awakened something extraordinary in the universe. Elder Kale approached her, expression softer than she had ever seen. "I was wrong," he said quietly. This was more than just a display. You reminded us of something we had forgotten. You reminded us that humans are capable of more than survival. They are capable of wonder, of joy, of connection." Lyra nodded, feeling a surge of pride and gratitude. "It's not just me," she said. "It's all of us. And maybe the signal, too." That night, as the colony settled into quiet, Lyra stayed on the plateau, gazing at the stars. The signal pulsed gently in the distance, a heartbeat that seemed to echo her own. She realized that their celebration had been more than a human event. It had been a cosmic connection, a proof that humanity's spirit could resonate across the stars. She imagined Earth, far away, spinning silently in the void. She imagined the people who had sent this signal long ago, hoping that one day humans would remember what it meant to celebrate, to create, to connect. And she realized that they had. The colony was changed. Children spoke excitedly of the next celebration. Adults lingered to share stories and laughter. And even the skeptical elders had begun to understand that joy. Creativity and unity were as important as survival. Lyra felt a sense of hope that stretched beyond her small world. Humanity, even here on a lonely planet, was alive, thriving, and capable of miracles. For Lyra, the night was a promise. The signal would continue to pulse, waiting for humans to reach out, to create, to connect. And they would. She knew it. And somewhere in the distant reaches of space, the signal seemed to respond once more. A faint ripple of energy that whispered across the void. Humans had awakened. Lyra smiled, her eyes bright with wonder. She had no idea what the future held, but she knew one thing. Humanity's spirit, once ignited, could never be dimmed. And she was determined to make sure it burned brighter than ever. The universe was listening, and humans had found their voice. The colony woke to a dawn that felt different. The twin suns rose slowly, painting the plains with warm hues of gold and orange. But beneath the light there was a sense of anticipation. Something had shifted. The pulse of the distant signal had grown stronger overnight, almost like it had been waiting for them to reach this moment. Lyra felt it in her chest, steady vibration that matched her heartbeat. She hurried to the central hub, where Taryn, Mila, and Joran were already gathered. Their faces were bright with energy, but a touch of anxiety lingered. None of them had ever felt the force of the signal so clearly. "Look at the readings," Lyra said, pointing at the monitors. The waveform of the signal was no longer just pulsing it with forming patterns, intricate and precise, almost like writing. Every time a drone passed through a light sequence, the signal seemed to react, glowing brighter and stronger. Thrawn's voice was low. "It's communicating. I don't know how, but it's like it's responding to everything we do." Lyra nodded. "This is it. This is what we've been preparing for. Today we show the colony, the universe, what it means to be human." Mila took a deep breath. "Do you think it's dangerous?" Lyra shook her head. "No, it's curious, not hostile. It wants to connect, to see what humans can create together. That's all." The group spent the morning making final adjustments. Drones were aligned in precise formations, each light carefully programmed to synchronize with the others. Holographic fireworks were tested repeatedly, with colors and patterns that shimmered across the screens like liquid metal. The countdown display was prepared, its numbers glowing brightly for the entire colony to see. Word spread quickly. Children ran from building to building, telling anyone who would listen that something incredible was going to happen that night. Some adults rolled their eyes, but most were drawn by curiosity. Even Elder Kale lingered nearby, his hands clasped behind his back, as he watched the preparations unfold. By evening, the colony had gathered outside. Families, workers, and children crowded near the edge of the plateau. Lyra stood at the central control station, her heart racing. She glanced at her friends, Tara and Mila, Joran, each of them focused, yet smiling with excitement. Together, they had done something no one thought possible. The first lights ignited in the sky, small bursts of color that danced and twisted with elegance. Drones moved in sweeping arcs, leaving trails that shimmered like stardust. Holographic fireworks exploded above the colony, reflecting off the rocky plains in a display more vivid than anything they had imagined. "Look at that," a child shouted, pointing to the sky. Adults murmured in awe, some stepping closer to the windows, others simply staring, unable to look away. The signal, sensing the energy and excitement, pulsed brighter. Waves of light and subtle vibrations spreading through the ground and the air. It was as if the universe itself were joining the celebration. The countdown began. 10-9. 8. The colony held its collective breath, voices joining in a chorus led by Lyra. 7. 6. 5. The lights in the sky shifted in response, creating intricate patterns that moved with the rhythm of their voices. 4, 3, 2, 1. The moment the countdown reached 0, the signal surged. A wave of radiant energy swept across the colony, enveloping every drone, hologram, and onlooker. The sky shimmered, twisting with colors that seemed impossible golden streaks. Deep blues and bright crimson merging in a dance that felt alive. It was as if the universe had responded to their celebration, acknowledging humanity's effort to connect. The air hummed with energy, warm yet gentle, filling the colony with a sense of awe and wonder. People felt emotions they had never experienced before: pure joy, unity, hope, and a deep connection to something larger than themselves. Children laughed and danced. Adults held hands or embraced silently. And even the most skeptical observers were caught in the beauty of the moment. Lyra felt the energy surge through her, a warmth that expanded from her chest outward, connecting her to every person around her. She realized that the signal was not just reacting to their celebration, it was amplifying it, reflecting the joy and unity of humans back to them in a dazzling display. "This is incredible," Terran whispered, his eyes wide. "It's like we're part of the universe itself." Lyra smiled, tears welling in her eyes. "We are. This is what it means to be human. To create, to connect, to celebrate." The signal's patterns continued to shift and dance in response to the colony's movements. Every cheer, every clap, every laugh seemed to cause ripples of energy to spread through the sky. Drones moved faster, holograms shimmered brighter, and the colors of the light twisted into new, unimaginable combinations. The colony had never seen anything so beautiful. Elder Kale, standing quietly among the crowd, finally spoke. "I see it now," he said softly. "It's not just lights or sound. It's the human spirit expressed, and somehow, it's reaching across space. You've reminded us of something we forgot." Lyra felt her chest swell with pride and gratitude. "We're only showing what humans are capable of. This signal. It's responding because we dared to dream, to celebrate, to connect." As the night continued, the energy grew even stronger. The signal began to form shapes in the sky, almost like visions of Earth itself. Lyra saw oceans, forests, and mountains reflected in the patterns of light. Children gasped as stars and landscapes shimmered above them. It was as if they were seeing memories of a world far away, a place they had never visited but were connected to in spirit. This is history," Mila whispered, her voice trembling. "We're witnessing something no human has ever seen." Joran nodded, unable to speak, his eyes locked on the sky. Lyra knew he felt the same wonder and connection she did. It was more than a celebration, it was proof that humans, no matter how far they traveled or how isolated they became, could leave an imprint on the universe. The pulse of the signal continued, steady and strong, almost like a heartbeat. Lyra realized that it was not just responding to the colony, it was waiting, watching, acknowledging humanity's effort to celebrate together. She felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that this connection would last long after the drones landed and the holograms faded. Eventually, the lights began to dim, the drones landing gently on the ground, and the holographic fireworks fading into the night. But the energy lingered. Children held each other's hands. Adults smiled quietly, and the elders, including Kale, nodded in respect. Something had changed. The colony had been united in a way that went beyond daily routines or survival. It had been united in spirit. Lyra stepped away from the control station and looked out over the plains. The stars above twinkled as if applauding, the distant signal pulsing gently, no longer insistent but content. She felt a deep connection to the universe, to the people of Earth, and to her fellow colonists. For the first time, she understood the true meaning of celebration. "This is only the beginning," she said softly to herself. "Humans can do this anywhere. We can connect, create, and celebrate across the stars." Terran came to her side, his eyes bright. "Do you think Earth sent the signal for this reason?" Lyra shook her head, smiling. "Maybe it wasn't sent for us. Maybe it was waiting for humans brave enough to find it, to show that even in isolation we can create wonder. Mila joined them, her voice full of awe, and we did it. We showed the universe what humans are capable of. Joran nodded silently. It's more than we imagined. We've made a mark, Lyra, something permanent, something alive. The night settled into quiet afterward, but the colony felt alive in a new way. Conversations flowed freely, laughter lingered, and even the hum of machinery seemed brighter, lighter. Lyra wandered through the crowd, seeing faces illuminated with hope and wonder. She realized that this celebration had not only awakened the signal, but had awakened something within every human present, the reminder that curiosity, courage, and creativity were powerful forces, high above. The distant signal pulsed gently, a reminder that the universe had heard them. Somewhere beyond the reach of human vision, it seemed to respond, acknowledging the spark of humanity. It was as if the cosmos itself had paused to witness what humans could do when they came together, dared to dream, and celebrated the spirit of life. Lyra returned to the plateau. Gazing at the horizon where the twin suns would rise soon, she felt exhausted, exhilarated, and deeply content. For the first time, she realized that her curiosity and determination had not only created a celebration, but had touched something vast, something eternal. The colony would never be the same. Children would remember this night forever. Adults would remember the joy, the unity, and the beauty. And the signal, whatever it truly was, would remain. A cosmic witness to humanity's ingenuity, courage, and spirit. As Lyra stood there, she made a silent promise. She would continue to explore, to create, and to connect. Humans were capable of more than survival. They were capable of wonder. And she would make sure that the spark they had ignited that night would never fade. And somewhere in the distant reaches of space, the signal pulsed once more, steady and gentle. A heartbeat that whispered across the void. Humans had awakened, and the universe had noticed. The morning after the great celebration arrived quietly, yet it felt extraordinary. The twin suns rose slowly over the horizon, casting long golden shadows across the colony. The air was filled with a gentle hum, a subtle vibration that seemed to echo the pulse of the signal from the distant system. Children ran across the plains, laughing and pointing at the lingering sparkles of holographic lights still faintly visible in the sky. Adults spoke in hushed, excited tones, sharing memories of the previous night and marveling at the impossible beauty they had witnessed. Lyra walked through the colony, her eyes bright, her heart full. She paused to watch a small group of children reenacting the countdown, their voices shaky but determined. Even in their imperfect imitation, she saw the same spark of joy and unity she had felt the night before. Humanity, she realized, did not need perfection to shine. It only needed courage, curiosity, and the willingness to connect. Tara, Mila, and Joran joined her at the edge of the plateau. They were quieter this morning, still absorbing the enormity of what had happened. The distant signal pulsed gently in response to the colony's activity, almost like it was watching and approving their every movement. "We did it," Terran said softly, shaking his head in awe. "I don't think anyone imagined this was possible. We didn't just create a celebration," Lyra replied, smiling. "We connected with something bigger than ourselves. We reached across the stars." Mila looked out toward the horizon, her eyes thoughtful. "Do you think the signal will ever stop responding?" Lyra shook her head. "I don't think so. Not unless humans stop dreaming, stop creating, stop celebrating. And that won't happen. We can make sure of it." Joran nodded, a quiet determination settling over him. "Then we continue. We expand. We share this with the entire colony, and even beyond. If humans are capable of this, what else can we do?" The elders, including Elder Kale, had begun to understand the impact of what had occurred. A quiet reverence hung over their faces as they observed the energy and excitement among the young humans. Kale approached Lyra, his expression softening. "You've reminded us," he said, "that humans are capable of more than survival. We can create beauty, joy, and unity even in the farthest reaches of space. You've awakened something that has been asleep for too long." Lyra nodded, feeling the weight and truth of his words. "It's not just me. It's all of us. and the signalet responded because we dared to come together. Throughout the day, the colony began to transform. The young ones taught older children how to program drones and adjust holographic lights. Adults, inspired by the energy and curiosity, joined in, contributing ideas and lending hands to refine the displays. The colony became a living example of human ingenuity, creativity, and cooperation. Every person contributed in their own way, no matter how small. And every contribution strengthened the connection not just among themselves, but to something larger, something universal. By evening, Lyra and her friends were ready for another demonstration. This time, the entire colony would participate. Children and adults alike took part, coordinating drones, lights, and sounds. Lyra adjusted the countdown display, ensuring it could be seen from every corner of the colony. The distant signal pulsed in response to their preparations, stronger now. It's almost like a heartbeat in the void of space. As the first lights ignited, the sky erupted in a symphony of color and motion. Drones danced across the horizon, leaving trails of brilliant light that intertwined with holographic fireworks. The colony watched in awe, gasping at the beauty and intricacy of the patterns. The distant signal pulsed in perfect harmony, amplifying the light and energy until the sky seemed alive with the combined force of human creativity and cosmic resonance. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The colony's voices rose together, blending with the hum of drones and the shimmer of holograms. 7, 6, 5. Each number made the signal pulse brighter, almost as if it were counting with them. Lyra's heart pounded in rhythm with the distant wave of energy, connection she could feel in her chest, her hands, her very being. 4, 3, 2, 1. The universe responded. A radiant wave of light swept across the colony, enveloping drones, holograms, and people alike. The sky shimmered with colors more vivid than anything they had ever imagined, golden streaks. Deep blues, emerald greens, and bright crimson merged and twisted, forming patterns that reflected the collective energy of every human present. The air vibrated with warmth, joy, and unity, filling every heart with awe and wonder. Children laughed and clapped, running in circles, their voices rising in harmony with the vibrations. Adults embraced one another, tears glistening in their eyes as they experienced a connection that went beyond words. Even the elders, who had once doubted, stood in silent reverence. Watching the incredible display unfold, Lyra felt a surge of pride and exhilaration unlike anything she had ever known. She realized that this celebration had become more than just lights in the sky. It was proof that humans, even on a distant and isolated world, could awaken something extraordinary. They had reached across the void, connecting with a force greater than themselves. The signal pulsed in response, forming shapes and images in the sky. For the first time, the colony saw visions of Earth's oceans, forests, mountains, and cities shimmering in patterns of light. Humans who had never set foot on the blue planet could feel its presence, its beauty, and its history through the cosmic display. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. It was as if the universe itself were showing gratitude, acknowledging the spark of humanity that had reached out across the stars. "This is incredible," Terran whispered, his voice trembling. "We're seeing Earth." "Through the universe," Mila nodded, unable to speak. She felt connected not just to the distant planet, but to every human who had ever lived. Every tradition, every dream, every act of courage and joy, Jorin stood beside them, his hand resting on Lyra's shoulder. "We've done something that will be remembered for generations. Humans aren't just survivors. We're creators, connectors, and dreamers." The energy of the signal continued to flow, responding to every movement, every cheer, every act of connection within the colony. Drones moved faster. Holographic lights shimmered brighter, and colors twisted and merged in ways that seemed alive. It was as if the universe itself was participating in the celebration, witnessing and reflecting the brilliance of human ingenuity and unity. As the night drew on, the display slowly began to fade, leaving behind faint traces of shimmering light that lingered in the sky. The drones landed gently, the holograms powered down, and the colony's people stood together, hearts still racing from the experience. Children held hands, adults shared quiet smiles. And even Elder Kale allowed himself a small, proud nod. Lyra looked around at the colony, seeing faces illuminated by wonder, hope, and joy. She realized that this night had changed them all. They were no longer just a colony surviving on a distant world. They were humans capable of extraordinary connection, creativity, and courage. Lyra returned to the plateau. Gazing at the horizon where the twin suns would rise soon, she felt the pulse of the signal, gentle and steady. As if whispering a promise, the universe had noticed humanity's spark, and it would always respond to those who dared to create, connect, and celebrate. "This is just the beginning," she said softly. "Humans can take this anywhere, to any world, and show what we are capable of. We can leave our mark not just on planets, but on the universe itself." Taryn, Milla, and Joran stood beside her, sharing the same awe and determination. They had witnessed something extraordinary, something beyond technology or science. They had awakened a cosmic connection, proof that the human spirit was alive, resilient, and capable of wonder in any corner of existence. The colony's people began to speak of the night for days afterward. They shared their experiences, taught others how to program drones and holographic lights, and celebrated together in new ways. Lyra knew that the spark of humanity had been reignited, not just in themselves, but in the distant signal that now pulsed gently across the void of space. For Lyra, the greatest reward was the knowledge that curiosity, courage, and hope could transcend distance and isolation. Humans were not defined by their survival alone. They were defined by their creativity, connection, and willingness to dream. She looked once more at the stars, feeling a sense of belonging that stretched across galaxies. Somewhere, far away, the signal continued to pulse in response to humanity's effort. It was a heartbeat, steady and enduring, a reminder that the human spirit could reach across time and space. And as the twin suns rose over the plains, Lyra felt a deep certainty. Humanity's story was far from over. There would be new celebrations, new discoveries, and new connections. The spark they had ignited would burn brighter with every passing day, reaching farther than anyone could imagine. She smiled, filled with hope and pride. Humans had awakened something extraordinary in the universe, and the universe had awakened something in them. The celebration, the connection, the joy they would continue forever. A testament to the resilience and brilliance of humanity. The colony had changed. Lyra had changed. And somewhere across the stars, the signal pulsed gently, a heartbeat echoing across the cosmos. Humans had shown what it meant to be alive. And the universe had responded. And for the first time, the galaxy seemed just a little brighter.